calling Mr. Lucas.
Oh, that guy in the blue shirt.
Lucas?
Maybe he stepped outside.
Oh, he went to the restroom?
He went to the office, so he'll be here soon.
All right. Well, hi everyone. Thank you for attending today. My name is Christian Kier, and I'm here to present the panel honoring Dr. Francis Hsu, who passed away on May 26, 2022. A little bit of a history. Dr. Hsu was the program coordinator of the Rehabilitation Services Program, which is the undergraduate program specializing in disabilities and at-risk populations here at Cal State LA. Dr. Hsu's passion for veterans, domestic violence survivors, homelessness, and people who were assisted impacted. In 2016, Dr. Hsu and Dr. Robert Vida from the Sociology Department collaborated with a team of students, faculty, and staff to create a conference called the Reintegration of Formerly Incarcerated Populations and Gang Intervention, a Diversity of Perspectives. Then the following year was themed around career development. With each year, the conference began to grow from local attendees to statewide. Students from various schools and carceral programs attended to see what could be their future. The conference was held annually with the theme of access and utilization of higher education, as the fifth one happening in March of 2020, a week before that pandemic happened. I will always remember that people were whispering about some weird illness that was existing in various states. And we even concluded jokingly, because remember, we didn't really know anything about it, right? We're like, thanks everyone for attending, get COVID, and we all laughed, and we all went home. Is that crazy? During the five conferences, Dr. Hsu and Dr. Vida began to assemble a team that consisted of the Rehabilitation Counseling Association, RCA, and the ProjectRebound playing a major component to themes, ideas, panelists, speakers, and presenters. Dr. Hsu linked me to the Center of Engagement Services and Public Good. She introduced me to Kathleen Lam, and suddenly I found myself at Lancaster State Prison, giving a 2-day workshop to about 50 gentlemen who were studying and gearing themselves towards a college degree at Cal State LA. Suddenly walking up King Hall, I would bump into men who looked familiar, and then would stop me to remind me that they had met me at the workshop, and now they're students at Cal State LA, ready to graduate and conquer the world. People like Jeff Stein, as you all may know, was one of those students. Fast forward now to 2023, and now we have the rough draft, which is the Pokemon evolution, I would say, of the Reintegration of Formerly Incarcerated Populations Conference. So many things have changed and evolved. Today, ProjectRebound has kindly included this moment to remember Dr. Francis Hsu and her legacy. When Summer, Amalia, and Jeff brought this up, our program jumped for the opportunity to honor Dr. Hsu. If you've ever been to any conference that Dr. Hsu is involved with, there's always a student panel. We believe that students in attendance connected most with their peers. This is how we break down the stigma of disability, the stigma of at-risk populations, and stigmas that we are all raised with. I want to start off today with Sharon Larson and her story about discovering rehabilitation services and meeting Dr. Hsu.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sharon Larson. I did my undergrad and my grad here at Cal State LA, starting in 2016. I am formerly incarcerated and a recovering addict. And before I started my first semester at Cal State here in 2016, there was a meet and greet. And me and another girl that I graduated with came down here to look at the campus for the first time. And I bumped into a table that said Rehabilitation Services. And I said to myself, is this regarding people getting out of the hospital, recuperating? And then there were some pamphlets, and I read it. And I said, oh my God, why am I taking the social work thing? I need to change my major. I had no idea who I was talking to. Standing across from the table was Dr. Hsu, and I go, how do I change my major? And she gave me her card and wrote down a little message. She goes, you come to the orientation at such and such date, and we will work on changing your major from social work to rehabilitation services. And that, my friends, is how my journey with rehabilitation services and how I started to hook up with RCA. Dr. Sue, as we all know her as Dr. Mom, she gave me the idea and the impact, the meaning, the true meaning of volunteering and giving back. Not just the word volunteering, but how it affects you and how it affects the people that you are volunteering for. And her passion were her rehabilitation services students, her formerly incarcerated people, her veterans, and we all used to do different events involving all of them. And in 2017, I believe Dr. Sue started connecting with Summer and Project Rebound. And in the meantime, she brought Katrina, who ended up being one of our big, and she still is, a consultant and a big impact to Project Rebound. She brought Sylvia to Project Rebound. In turn, Sylvia brought me to Project Rebound. And I am the person that I am. I have pamphlets, and I'm at the bus stop. I'm at the, on the bus, on the train. I kind of collaborate. If you know anybody that's formerly incarcerated that is interested in going back to school, you have friends, here, call us, and we will help you. And I can never forget, my impact and how meeting Dr. Sue got me out of my shell and gave me the inspiration to keep volunteering and keep helping people. I am so grateful for transferring to Cal State LA, first of all, and second of all, for changing my major to rehab services, which I could graduated with my master's in rehab counseling. When I got clean in 2008, I finally got off probation and parole in 2010. And I needed to change the world. So I was fear of walking on the unknown. And I'm standing in front of Mount Sac, my first day, and I said, should I or shouldn't I? I said, fuck the fear, I'm doing this. And so I used 5 years, and there was no rising scholars at the time, so I more or less white-knuckled it. But I kept moving forward. I kept keeping the faith. I'm going to change and get better by getting my degrees from there. And in the meantime, I decided to say, I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to transfer and keep going. And I'm so grateful I did because I met so many beautiful people. Dr. Sue, Professor Keir, Summer, Jeff. I mean, it changed me for the better. It made a believer out of me that I went from a criminal to an addict that was, from the time I was 13 till I was 57. I'm now a master's student, and my goal is
Thank you, Sharon. So Sharon mentioned a little bit about Sylvia, so now I want to introduce you to Sylvia.
Good morning.
My name is Sylvia Montano, and I'm a second-year graduate student here at Cal State LA in the Rehabilitation and Counseling Services program. I'm also a little shy, believe it or not. I'm very, very sensitive, so if I start to cry during this conversation, it's only because of the passion that I have for being here. And I want to start with, first of all, as everyone else is focusing on what Dr. Sue's legacy was, is how Dr. Sue impacted me. I too am a person in recovery, and I too am formerly incarcerated. And I think on my journey to actually coming out as formerly incarcerated happened here with Dr. Sue and Project Rebound. And so I want to tell a real quick story. I hope you guys can follow me. May not be the best storyteller, but I met Dr. Sue before I met Dr. Sue because I was following somebody on his journey of education, and he was here already, RCA, he was already here, we had counseling, and he was already part of this magnificent, formerly incarcerated committee that was established. And so I came to the EOP office here because I'm a resource monster. I'm all about resources and making this easier, not harder for me, right? So when I came here, I did Summer Bridge, and I had already met Dr. Sue. I knew her, who she was before I got here. I already knew her as Dr. Mom, so I was kind of intimidated by her. Like, I really didn't want to warm up to her too much. I didn't want her to know my business because I'm not telling people my business. to Dr. Sue at one point, he said, Dr. Sue, I need a job. I need a job, right? She goes, okay. She didn't even say okay. Like a couple of days later, she's like sent me to Urban Learning, and I did an application with the director there, and I got a position in the Urban Learning department as a student assistant of some kind. Who knew what it was? I had to come over to the Human Resources department over here, fill out the live scan application. Back then I'm raw, you know, so I like put the most interesting or probably the most searchable, you know, charges, right, that I had. And I'm waiting, I'm not hearing anything, right, from Human Resources. And I'm like, what's going on? So I started to like knock on doors and telephone and, you know, sorry I did this, I wouldn't change who I am. So finally, I get a call from them saying that the human resources lady is on the leave of absence and I'm going to be meeting with somebody else to show by a certain time. Blah, blah, blah. So I go, and for some reason when I went, I happened to have like my resume, my stuff with me. I got prepared before I left the car. So I'm going to take all this with me in case I have to like, show it to them. So I walk in there, the lady's the assistant, she brings her student assistant with her, and I'm sitting at the table, and she like opens it. And she's got my rap sheet, right? And I'm looking down at it, I'm looking at her, and I'm looking at the student assistant, right? And I'm going, okay. And so she starts to tell me, well, you want to tell me a little bit about this? And I said, well, that looks like my history. And she'll say, yes, it is. She says, you have 4 extensive criminal background. And I was floored. And I was pissed. So I looked at her and I said, well, I'm getting hired for a minimum wage student aid position here, and you're showing me my life. I said, and that's fine. I said, do you think that's going to impact the work here? I said, but you don't know who I am. And no, and quite frankly, I was kind of already like pissed off that there was somebody else sitting there, like, who's she? Like, anyway. So I went through the interview, like trying to hold it together as best I could, because I'm humiliated, I'm embarrassed. I'm a million and one things at the same time. Who are you to question who I am? You know, and I just thought it was just so off kilter, you know? Anyway, so I looked at her, she looked at me, I was really upset, and then I said, well, let me tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm a person in recovery trying to change my life. I casted away trying to change a lot of others. And I happen to have this in my hand. This is the 2nd annual formerly incarcerated program that was here on campus. And I flipped it over and I pointed to my name and I told her, this is what I'm doing now. And I said, this is the conference that I just ended. We were here promoting support for formerly incarcerated students on campus. And I walked out of there with Dr. Sue, and I was humiliated for telling her. And I said, I don't want that job anymore, so I'm not having the time. I don't want it. I'll get away. I'll get away. Leave me alone. Just, you know, like I just kind of freaked out. But maybe the next day or so, she was quick. Dr. Sue was quick. She saw through you a lot of times. Like she was thinking as you walked out the door, even when you walked in, like before she even saw you. You see her, how are you thinking about it, right? So she goes, I want you to go down to the basement, I want you to talk to Kevin Gonzalez, and I want you to tell him that I sent you. So I went down to the basement, I went to go talk to Kevin Gonzalez, and there I was, one of the first student interns at ProjectRebound. Back then, ProjectRebound was a pilot program. There was only 5 campuses that had ProjectRebound at the time. We were out of the Office of Student Engagement, and I was like, what do I do? No. What do you want me to do? And he was like, well, I want you to focus on on-campus resources. I want you to go out there. And so, kind of like went out there and I started mastering the tabling. Like, let's set up a table, let's do this, let's meet people. Your system impacted, and your system impacted, and your system impacted. And people would walk by, like, you know, like people that are like really shy, you know, they're like, they don't want you to look at them, but they want you to look at them. And I would say, your system impacted, and they walk over and say, yeah, your system impacted you. Look at where you're at. Look at where Casa Valley is, right? You know somebody or somebody in your family, someone in your life, your neighbor, has been formerly incarcerated or system impacted. You know what? We want to be here to help. We want to educate you. We want to provide the second chances, right? And so, with all that being embraced, like I said, I became one of the first student interns there. I became very passionate about ProjectRebound because, like I said, it was my coming out story. I didn't come onto campus saying I'm an addict in recovery. I didn't come in here saying I was formerly incarcerated. And even in Project Rebound at the time, I had to kind of explain, I didn't have to make it to prison to be formally incarcerated. If you would have seen my rap sheet when that lady was looking at it, like, I mean, I was there. I just hadn't made it, right? I had not graduated yet. I'd been going in and out of the county system for a good 20 years of my life. I was done. I was done when I was done. And like Sharon mentioned, Dr. Sue, her service, her spirit of service was strong. Like her spirit of students teaching students and each one teach one was really, really strong. And she thought that as peers, we were best able to hear another peer. And she would always call me in and say, hey, have you talked to so-and-so about the way she dresses? She's a mom. She was a mom. That's who she was. Tell her to take her lipstick down a little bit on her face, She was just, and but she was fantastic. She would do anything she could to support you. And I felt like super supportive, and she was great at all. And I really wanted to honor her today. I don't know if I left anything out. So I think part of my passion rolls off. When I talk about something that's close to my heart or something that I know very well, like being formally incarcerated, being systemically active, being in rehab, or being a recovery addict, comes out of this kid, comes out of my course. So people kind of associate me to Project Rebound. I get called all the time because they look at me as Project Rebound. A lot of them out there in the community. I'm still on campus, but I also have a job. I work at La Para. And I love it. And so what I did at this formerly incarcerated conference this year, and I had so much experience, was I did outreach. I did all the tables. I called all the people, dollars for dollars, to tell them who we were. This is who we are. This is what we're doing. Can you come out and support? And I learned a lot. I learned a lot by these conferences. I learned a lot being part of Project Rebound. I was able to fly to Florida. My good friend Raul over there, and be a part of a petition writing project that was to put on the ballot in Florida to allow felons to vote, which won. What we do is like a book, it's not so much formally incarcerated anymore, it's reintegration is what I like to call it, second chances is what I like to call it, who we are and what we did. Like I said, I used my evil powers for good today, and I'm just really grateful to be here. Project Rebound's always had its door open for me, and I'm still part of who they are and what they mean, and I'm grateful to be here. By the way, we're now at all 23 campuses for this year. Oh, we are? Building and they will come. They may not be there because they don't have the staff, but they are able to have them.
Well, thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Sylvia. So I want to now share actually one of my most vivid memories of Sharon and Sylvia. Dr. Sue and I were beginning to notice the rise in social justice talks when we had a hunch that we would start focusing on formerly incarcerated populations and higher education. I was teaching our rehab services, sorry, and I met someone who was talking about a free legal clinic where people with felonies and misdemeanors could expunge their histories by lawyers working pro bono. So one day, Sharon and Sylvia came up to me and said that they had actually gone through it. This is a memory that pops up in my head whenever I see Sylvia or Sharon, because sometimes as a teacher you tell people like there are these things that you can take advantage of, right? And a lot of times students hear it and they don't do anything. But for them to come up to me and tell me like, hey, you did something that you recommended and thought would benefit us, and it actually did. So I'd like to invite these two now, again, amazing women, to share their story about this as part of their educational experience in rehab services, and also anything else they have found beneficial of their lives during the program.
Okay, as Professor Kier spoke about the flyers about expungement clinics, there was one in East LA, not too far from the disability, the convention was there. So I went and did it because my rap sheet looks like a phone book. I mean, I had like 1,000 aliases, and I had caught cases in San Francisco, Chicago, Sacramento, Oakland, you name it, and I've been there. So I had like 3 shopping bags of all my cases. And anyway, I met the legal aid guy named Kristen there, and I started going to see him every day. They gave me a life scan there, and I started meeting him in his office. It was on Whittier and Atlantic. And I go there like twice a month and, get updates. I send them copies of my accomplishments that I did, my diploma from MOPSAC, my completion of prototypes, Women's Center, and all this other stuff. And I finally got all, I don't know, I had cases in San Francisco that they wanted me to go down there, but he somehow worked his finesse and got it to where I didn't have to do it. Anyway, I went to San Fernando Court, I went to Van Nuys Court, I went downtown, I had all these shopping bags that weighed about 75 pounds with all my paperwork, and each week I went to each court and got these things stamped, expunged. And I thank God for Professor Kier and Dr. Sue for, researching this stuff and making it available to us. Now, the only thing I have to do now is get my prison stuff, what do you call it, the rehabilitation certificate or whatever. I just have to do that. They sent me like paperwork. But Dr. Sue had such a big impact. She cared so deeply about her people, you know what I mean? She had a heart of gold. And that impact, as Sylvia mentioned, that impact, I grew from that, and that some of her instilled in me, and I am so grateful, for all this.
My memory of that expungement was a little different because I think the expungement clinic started and Sharon and I had to take a journey to Long Beach. And when we got to Long Beach, there was a lot of people there. And so you had to do your fingerprinting right then and there. And then they ran you and then they matched you, so to speak, with an attorney that was pretty much the performance. And I mentioned to Professor Kira that at the time I wanted Sharon because she carried through with it. Now, mind you, I was looking at my rap sheet a couple weeks later, and it just didn't fall through. It didn't fall through, and so I'm kind of grateful of the fact that the laws are still changing in my favor, because I believe they just changed this election, that they're changing in January, that they can't go back 4 years. And so, definitely my record and my lifestyle has changed sometimes like 5 times over, and so a lot of my criminal record will probably fall off. But at any rate, that was an opportunity that was given to us here, and it was something that we followed through together. Like we didn't do it alone, I should have went together. The process got started and she was able to carry it out. One of the other things that we had here was the opportunity through Dr. Sue to do a stipend fund. I wonder if Professor Curie remembers that.
Oh, yeah.
We did a weekend of job preparedness, which was like just a set of how to get a business card, how to do your resume, how to dress professionally. It was the simple little things, but then there were also other little things like how to do a web page and interviewing and anyway, we did the whole. There was more to it than that. There was so much more to it. I have the book.
I still have the book too.
And I use it because it's like etiquette and how to do, how to, cut and paste or not cut and paste or however it was. There's just a lot of stuff to it. One of the things I did, I remember after that was get a business card. I still have my business card. Yeah, I got my own little personal business card out of that, and I got paid. At the end of the day, I got paid. Like that was the first time I had gotten paid to just show up to what would be like maybe 6 hours on, 2 hours on Friday, 2 hours on Saturday, and got a certificate and got paid. I can't. Like I don't know if we still do that, but it was great. So that was through Professor Kier, and it was for ProjectRebound specifically.
Yeah, I taught that class.
Yeah.
So basically, just to let you know, when I mentioned a little bit earlier, when I went to Lancaster State Prison to the workshop, we actually modified that for students who were actually at Cal State LA as well. So it was the same one where people can get jobs, but if they're not happy, they're not necessarily going to stay there, right? So we really wanted to get to know the person and have them figure out what they want to do, what they're passionate about, so that we hope that they would stay in those careers, once they get them. So, thank you. So I want to thank you again for these stories. And then when working on finding this panel, I thought about a current student of mine, and I mentioned it to Sharon and Sylvia. And immediately Sylvia's like, I know Lucas. And I was like, say no more, you will be part of the panel, right? So I want to introduce everyone to Lucas Gavino, a current rehab services teacher. I would love to have him talk about the legacy of Dr. Seuss in the sense of, because he never met Dr. Seuss, right? And he's part of our program, so go ahead.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Lucas Aguino. I was actually formerly incarcerated myself. So I went in when I was actually 16 years old, and I got out when I was 31. So from the time that I was actually incarcerated, I educated myself. I did my GED, I got my associate's degree, and then trying to actually go, because they changed certain laws, right, for juvenile offenders. I was actually able to go to the parole board and actually got granted parole. But before that, it's kind of an interesting story because actually this is how kind of this small world, even prison and out here. I started contacting ProjectRebound, right, and actually Summer and Amalia actually wrote letters for me. When I actually, for the parole board panel, and actually like having a support system when you actually transition out here is one of the things, the benefits of actually having networks to actually, right? So before that, right when I actually got granted parole, I actually went to the NCRP program, and that's where I actually met Terry Montano, right? She was actually like a counselor there, and kind of networked the same thing, small world, right? She contacted Summer, and then I actually got a day pass because we were only allowed to go, we weren't allowed to go until like, I believe it was my day observation, right? And from there, I actually asked to come to Project, to Council LA to actually be members of Project. And that's actually an interesting story. That's when I actually first met Sharon, and she actually picked me up. It was one of the first faces I actually seen at the Council LA, right? So, and for that experience that I actually had, I had other Project Rebound members actually assist me in enrolling into Council LA. As you understand, like I said, I mean, I even, from the time when I was in CMP, one of my conditions of parole was to actually go to a, I couldn't go back to the residency where I actually, was from, right? Being gang affiliated, having certain, I mean, of course, I mean, you go back to certain environments, you're more likely to actually get incarcerated again. So I even just Sylvia, so I was considered transient when I actually got out. Sylvia actually assisted me to actually find housing, right? Which I actually lived not that far away from here, like probably, in a program that's up the hill, right? And then from there, they actually transferred to another transition housing that's in Boyle Heights, right? So it was one of the things transitioning out to society was kind of hard. I mean, like I said, growing up, like I said, I was about gangs, drugs, and stuff like that, criminal activity. So when I went to prison, it continued the same lifestyle, right? And I decided to say, part of my life, I wanted to do something different, something better. Especially at 16, I mean, I didn't see no hope for this, right? I thought my whole life was gangs and drugs, and that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I went to prison. I wanted to actually be something better, right? And through education, I actually found an outlet that actually made me feel good about myself. Because I always thought it was kind of, I wasn't smart enough. I mean, like I said, I have all these negative connotations or negative labels, like, oh, you're just a bad kid, you're a bad person, you're this, I mean, so I was defined from the action that I actually did, and I started believing those, right? So I wanted to be something better, right? And like I said, through my education, I actually did, I found kind of self-healing, right? I actually obtained confidence within myself. So I actually transitioned, and I still, like I said, it's one of the things that I actually still felt awesome. I still, yeah. So like from most of my life, like I said, I was felt misplaced or lost, right? And then coming out here, especially being embraced by a community of people that kind of want to do better, of actually people you kind of feel accepted, right? Like I said, I mean, majority, when I was a kid, I actually always felt like an outsider. I always felt like I never belonged, right? And when I coming out, I still had the same feelings, so even like I say, it never left. So coming to Project Rebound and to Council LA, it actually made me feel accepted for the person that I am, which I like to call myself a nice person, right? It's one of the things that, of course, certain circumstances I couldn't be that person, my authentic self, right? But at the same time, meeting people that actually embrace you and help you out, just kind of give you the opportunity, especially hearing from doctors through the rehabilitation field. I formed a support network, and now that I see of people that want to help others, maybe want to contribute to that legacy, right? And especially here, because I remember we were supposed to have a class, but that's when Dr. Sue actually took the lead. I seen her, but like I never talked to her one-on-one for the same reason. Like I was still kind of new, I was still trying to navigate. But especially having people tell me, oh, this is the field that you seem like you'll be very good at. And like I said, I embrace it. Like I say, I want to try out like new things that actually help benefit my life. And And as I started going to, I think Professor Kier was actually one of my professors when I first took my first 2 classes. Last semester I took 4, this semester I'm actually taking 5. I should graduate spring of 2024. And it's more things that having that sense of direction of not actually feeling lost anymore, having people that actually support you, like ProjectRebound, or people that are here today. I mean, it's kind of an honor to actually speak in front of. I never thought in a million years that I was actually going to be able to talk in front of people, right? Especially sitting in an isolated area, like for a majority of my life, right? And now that I'm actually here, I mean, I want to thank everyone for actually giving this opportunity, and for the same reason I continue with Dr. Shu's legacy, especially trying to better our communities, you know what I mean? And in that I actually appreciate, I mean, Dr. Kier, Summer, and everybody at ProjectRebound, even Soto Montano for never me taking my first day pass to actually come to Cal State LA. And like I said, it's one of the things that seeing similar faces that embrace you, especially, I mean, I remember I came from the train, I was so happy to actually just be outside, and just like, one day after 15 years, like, you know, just to be on the bus right into Cal State LA, and I remember seeing that sign, Cal State LA, and I told myself, you know what, it's gonna be worth it, and here I am, you know what I mean, it's real, it's like I'm a student here, a student worker here as well, and it's one of the things that, I mean, I love being here, you know what I mean, I have a sense of belonging, I mean, it's like something like, I don't feel that void or that emptiness I used to feel as a kid. Of course, I formed a stronger family network to my family, like to my support system, and like I said, I don't feel disconnected with the world anymore, and that's what keeps me going as well. You know what I mean? I have that support system. As a kid, like I said, I used to push people away for whatever reason. Like I said, factors of my life kind of affected the person that I kind of was kind of pretending to be. But now that I'm actually here, I feel like I have a purpose. I mean, I'm continuing like Dr. Shulevsky, having professors like Professor Kier, Professor Williams, even like the new professors that I actually have, like they encourage me. It's like finding that connectivity with people is actually, for me, has made me grow as a person, as a human being. And it's like, I mean, I appreciate everybody. You know?
So Sharon says she has something really quickly to say about
I've seen many ProjectRebound members that I've met and I've seen graduate. And let me tell you about Ariana. I remember when she first walked into ProjectRebound to talk to Summer, I watched her grow from that person that she was when she first walked in. I watched her graduate with her master's and go on, and she had a big commitment with PCC and the core program. She and another person pretty much put the core program together, and I always looked up to Ariana as a mentor. I said, oh, she's amazing. I admire her. And I come to find out she eventually became a professor. And I said, oh my God, look at what we're doing, you know? And she in turn talked to her superiors about me. And with the grace of God, I got hired by PCC to work part-time, including me coming through ProjectRebound and Cal State LA. You know what I mean? It's just amazing. And now I work part-time for ProjectRebound and part-time for core, and I'm so grateful.
We're running a little, I think, late on time. Should we continue, or we should wrap it up, right?
We got some people.
Yeah. So as a teacher, obviously, if this is a rough draft, can you guys, imagine what the final draft is going to look like, right? So I want to thank Sharon, Sylvia, and Lucas for helping to keep Dr. Su's legacy alive. Even if future students never meet Dr. Sue, they have been touched by her through her love and legacy. Thank you, ProjectRebound, the entire crew, everyone. Thank you for giving us this moment to commemorate the ERP in our world. Thank you.